Some of the most important words are in the middle of the Romans book, where Paul is talking about the struggle between the sinful nature and the spirit, and exhorting or trying to encourage those he felt were given to him as true brothers, trying to encourage them to do what he was trying to do in the struggle with this nature that he couldn't control, and he couldn't just divorce himself from by memorizing some formulas. It was serious. It was a big deal. And he lays out the struggle, and then he sort of winds it up by finishing the encouragement with, if you do struggle, then your struggle will be the same as the Son's struggle. The Son of God, the one who went before us, the firstborn of this little group that God created by particular things happening, not by the will of man, but by the will and purpose of the Father. So if you struggle with this nature and continue to, even though it seems like a losing battle, to be able to do what you want to do, what you really want to do, what you want to please God, you want to do the right thing, but you can't. You're constantly drawn into this war, this struggle with this nature that wells up these cravings in you, and you can't control them. You can't help yourself. You have to submit, and you do, and you continually fight and struggle, and you continually succumb to this thing that's living in you. You can't get rid of it. And it doesn't just go away because you want it to, or because you memorize some doctrine. It doesn't ever go away. It's there, and it gets stronger. The more you neglect it, the more you deny it, the more you try to struggle with it, the more you try to fight against it. But if you continue to struggle, you will be like the one who went before you who struggled. And it isn't just about not struggling against the raw animal cravings, the lust, the desire to indulge in whatever, food or sex or money, whatever that raw thing is. There's something much more important at the heart of what the animal does and how the animal is and what the animal seeks, which is found in that Genesis 3 chapter, that agreement. And Paul sort of caps off his encouragement in this vein by saying, if you do struggle, if you continue to fight with me, with us, then you will be like the one who went before us, the Son. But there's a caveat. It's conditional. You'll be so much like the Son, you'll be his true brother, you'll be heir with him. You will share in his inheritance. But it's conditional. If indeed, we share in his sufferings. The suffering that the Son had to endure in learning to accept not what he could have grabbed by his own hand, by the agreement he could get from the humans, by jumping off that temple and being held up by the angels, and then everybody looking and saying, hey, he doesn't look like the Messiah, but we all saw that. And he must be, so let's lift him up and let's make him king. And when they tried to do that, he went away. He became silent and gone. Because it says he knew what was in man. What was in man was the desire to find that agreement. The desire to find that agreement and lift him up as the one who was to come. But his great suffering was in being willing to accept what the Father wanted to give him as his witness, as his agreement. And that was this tiny little group who had been chosen to hear the particular word from the Father that he was the one he claimed to be. He had to accept them as a representation of his true brothers out of all of the human animals who lived and died in Israel. It was only the tiniest little fraction, the tiniest sliver, that is, that remnant, that is the true Israel, the Israel of God. What the humans agree is Israel is just that, what the humans agree is Israel. And they are continually making themselves as that group. The group who agrees that they're favored by God. The same group existed in Jesus' day as exists now. The world is filled with them. But the message of the words that declare the secret message, it's hidden not only in the stories and the metaphors, but also in our own psychology. We can see that desire to find that agreement because it makes us feel safe, it makes us feel good, it makes us feel like we have a purpose, and that our existence means something. It also existed in the Son of God, and he had to wrestle with it. And he had to accept that he couldn't grab what was real. He had to wait, and he had to be satisfied, willing to do the Father's purpose, the will of God, the true will of God, and not his own, which is the true devil, the adversary. That will, the purpose of the animal, that snake that always talks via that instinct that guides us and tells us how to live, how to survive, how to find agreement that makes us feel safe, so we feel like we can survive better, longer, stronger,